Hello again. So, this will be a continuation for our discussion in connective tissue. So, cartilage is a specialized form of connective tissue. It provides framework of skeletal system. So, the extracellular matrix is enriched with glycosaminoglycans and proteoglycans. The firm consistency of the extracellular matrix allows the tissue to bear mechanical stresses without permanent distortion. It provides shock absorbing and sliding area for joints and facilitates bone movement. Now let's discuss the different components of the cartilage. So the first one is the chondrocytes, in which this is a mature cartilage cells. So it synthesizes and secretes the extracellular matrix. And the cells themselves are located in the matrix cavities called lacuna. And there are two ways on how to describe the age of the chondrocytes. So if it is young, the shape would be elliptical, and if it is old, the shape would be rounded. So the other component here we have is cartilage matrix, in which it is made up of ground substances and extracellular fibers. So the ground substances here is made up of proteoglycans and glycosaminoglycans. And the extracellular fibers, it is mainly consists of elastin fibers. So this produced and maintained by chondroblasts and chondrocytes. It is also hydrated because of the high water content that allow diffusion of molecules from chondrocytes. So the presence of fibers characterizes the different types of cartilage. So next we have lacuna. So lacuna is a compartment where chondrocytes are located. And the other component that we have here is chondroblast. So these cells originate from the mesenchymal stem cell and forms the chondrocytes. And they are typically found along the edges of the cartilage plates, just under the perichondrium, where new appositional growth occurs. So the next one is we have perichondrium. So perichondrium is found on the peripheries of hyaline and elastic cartilage. This is a peripheral layer that is dense with vascular connective tissue with type 1 collagen. The inner layer is chondrogenic and give rise to chondroblast that secretes the cartilage matrix. And the articular hyaline cartilage of bones and fibrocartilage is not lined with perichondrium. So as you look on this picture, we have arrows here located. And the different arrows here is how the nutrients will pass through these surfaces. So for the red broken line here, this is the diffusion of nutrients through extracellular matrix to the chondrocytes. And the blue line here is the diffusion of chondrocyte excretory products through extracellular matrix going to the circulatory system. And this bold line, red line here, is the capillaries. So the capillaries are located in the peripheries or in the perichondrium. Now the movement of ions, the movement of nutrients from perichondrium to the extracellular matrix is going in. So the nutrients is going inside the extracellular matrix and going inside the chondrocytes. Then the chondrocytes also secretes excretory products, or the chondrocyte secretes the extracellular matrix. So the diffusion is sideways. Now let us see the different types of the cartilage. So the first one is hyaline cartilage, in which this is the most common and best studied. So mostly the color is bluish white and translucent. So in the embryo, it serves as a temporary skeleton until it is gradually replaced by the bone. So the location of this hyaline cartilage, it is usually found in articular surfaces of the movable joints, walls of larger respiratory passages such as nose, larynx, trachea, and bronchi. So it also can be seen in the ventral ends of the ribs and epiphyseal plate. So it is composed of type 2 collagen fibers, and the matrix is composed of basophilic due to high concentration of sulfated glycosaminoglycans. So the second one is hyaline cartilage. So hyaline cartilage is more pliable and distensible. It is yellowish in color owing to the presence of elastin in the elastic fibers. Usually, it can be found in auricle of the ear, walls of the external auditory canals, auditory tubes, epiglottis, and in the cartilage of the larynx. And it is composed of collagen type 2 plus an abundance of elastic fibers. So extracellular matrix here is less abundant. And last but not the least, we have fibrocartilage, in which it is present in regions of the body subjected to pulling forces. It is always associated with dense connective tissue, and it contains chondrocytes, usually arranged actually in long rows. It also contains less proteoglycans than other forms of cartilage. It is commonly found in intervertebral discs, attachment of certain ligaments, and pubic symphysis. And the composition of this cartilage is dense network of coarse type 1 collagen fibers, and the matrix is more acidophilic. In all three forms, cartilage is avascular and is nourished by the diffusion of nutrients from capillaries in adjacent connective tissue or from the synovial fluid in the joint of the cavities. Now, the question is, how do cartilage are formed? So, cartilage are formed with a process called chondrogenesis. So the first one, the embryonic mesenchyme precursor tissues of all types of cartilage, and then mitotic proliferation of mesenchymal cells and early differentiation give rise to a tissue with condensations of rounded cells called chondroblasts. So chondroblasts are separated from one another by their own production of various matrix which collectively swell with water and form a great amount of extracellular matrix. And the next one is multiplication of cartilage cells that give rise to isogenous aggregates in each surrounded by a condensation of territorial matrix. So in mature cartilage, this interstitial mitotic activity ceases and all chondrocytes typically become more widely separated by their production of matrix. So there are two processes in cartilage growth. Namely, we have one interstitial growth and the other one is appositional growth. So the interstitial growth results from the mitotic division of pre-existing chondrocytes. It is responsible for increase in size overall and formation of isogenous groups. And then the other one is appositional growth. Appositional growth results from the differentiation of perichondrial cells. It occurs when osteoprogenitor becomes chondroplast in the chondrogenic layer of the perichondrium and then differentiate into chondrocytes. So the newly formed cells produce fibers and ground substance that add to the matrix of the existing cartilage and increase its mass. So I am hoping that you can get this process. So it is just like following your mitosis. So from one cell, dividing it into two cell, and then dividing it into two cell. Okay. Um, in order for us not to be confused, um, chondroblast is from the that is the very first cell, or that is the mesenchymal cell. Okay. So chondroblast first, and then it will undergo differentiation or proliferation and division of the cells, and then until it became mature, and then it will become chondrocyte. When the cells of the cartilage become mature, it becomes chondrocytes. And these chondrocytes are located in a cavity called lacuna. So if you're going to look at it under the microscope, these cartilage cells are inside these cavities. So I'm hoping that I can get a picture of that cartilage under the microscope. Maybe I will send that one into your uh, learning learning platform. And the difference between interstitial and appositional is that interstitial is happening at the center of the cartilage or between the cells, while appositional growth is happening on the periphery of of the cartilage. So the movement is uh, what they call that, lengthening the the cartilage, while the interstitial is that adding up more cells of the cartilage. Now the question is, what if your cartilage um now the question is, what if your cartilage is damaged? Now we have a process here. So that is called regeneration. Your your cartilage also regenerates, but it is slow and sometimes it is incomplete. So the cells in the perichondrium invade the injured area and then regenerate a new cartilage. So if extensively damaged, the perichondrium produces a scar of dense connective tissue instead of forming new cartilage. Okay, so that's why um, sometimes those damaged area cannot be moved. It's hard to move because of that presence of the connective tissue in that damaged area. And that ends our discussion. Next meeting, we're going to talk about the bones. So I'm hoping that you learned something, and thank you for listening.